Mike. What day is it, Mike? Happy Wednesday to you. It's March 6th. Yeah, March 6th. Had to look. We have severe weather on the way for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and then into the southeast as we go through the week. This is for tomorrow. Our weather spotlight on Abilene, San Angelo, Brownwood, Brady, Junction, Texas, in West Texas. And yeah, severe weather. Could see hail up to a quarter size, damaging winds over 60 miles an hour. Heavy rain, weather ponding, that threat is low, and the tornado potential is low as well. But we will show you that there is at least a chance for tornadoes in this area as we get into the day Thursday, which is tomorrow. All right, here's what's going around the country today. Watches and warnings. Red flag warnings are back, this time for South Dakota into Minnesota and also northeastern New Mexico. Very dry, windy, and warm. So watch out. Anything that could cause a spark could be a problem. We do have, what is that? Winter weather advisories or a winter storm watch. That's a winter storm watch for central Colorado. All the way up in North Dakota, still dealing with snow. Winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings there. That would also go for just south of Yellowstone and in Wyoming and Idaho, right on the border there. Winter storm warnings or winter storm watches, depending. And all of our activity, all that snow in the west, finally ending. But still hanging in there with a winter weather advisory for parts of southern Oregon, northern California, and the mountains of southern California. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, other parts of New England, it's a flood watch. So enough concern there to hoist those. And is that a dense fog advisory there for Maryland? I think so, a little bit. All right, surface today, we see a couple fronts. One moving moving from the Great Lakes into New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then that trailing front from that low in Indiana, moving into Kentucky, Tennessee, and causing the rain in Nashville, as we talked about yesterday. That will be clearing from the west today. Thunderstorms along the coast, another front there, North Dakota, South Dakota, Georgia, a little bit of Virginia, Florida also dealing with thunderstorms. Another area of storms, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. Further north, that's a mix of rain and snow from eastern Colorado right through Minnesota, and then North Dakota dealing with that snow that we just mentioned. Colorado with some snow. Pretty much the west, we're dealing with snow or a mix or rain, depending on location or elevation. Oregon and Washington mostly left out, but southern Oregon definitely in on that. And the Olympic Mountains, maybe in Washington, maybe there on the Olympic Peninsula, maybe a little bit of a mix. Highs today, the highest highs shunted to the south and southeast. So really the warmest temperatures here are Texas, Florida, and southern Arizona. But then as you get further to the north, springtime temperatures, 60s in Missouri, 50s in Iowa, and Minnesota, northern Minnesota, 40s, North Dakota, 30s, 20s, teens. Same with Montana. New England, fairly warm, mid-50s for the most part. Very nice. Is that 48? That's not Buffalo, but a little bit east of Buffalo. So, and then warming up in California from where it has been. Surface for tomorrow. Here's where severe weather starts in Texas and parts of Oklahoma. And then thunderstorms, just garden variety around that, as far north as where I live here in Iowa, into Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas. A front sweeping through Florida, but not through the southern part of Florida yet. So some thunderstorms there south of the front. Chance of rain along the mid-Atlantic, changing to a mix as you get into New England. Maybe some freezing rain possible there. And then behind our plains front, we have a mixture of rain and snow. South Dakota, Nebraska, into Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, California. And higher elevations in the Rockies, Colorado, snow with some heavy snow possible, Wyoming. And then the colder air behind it, that colder front, that's changing to snow in South Dakota, Wyoming, and Nebraska. And what we're seeing in the plains, we also have a critical fire weather possible just to the west of our severe weather possible. And this is typical for early spring and really into the spring. It's just the dry line starts setting up further west. But what's happening is our surface low in the Oklahoma Panhandle is going to push dry air into the moist air. And where the two meet is where that dry line is. And that's right on the western edge of where that severe weather is. Further to the west, on the dry side of the dry line, we have warm temperatures, breezy conditions, and it's been dry. So southeastern New Mexico into West Texas is looking at critical fire weather possible for tomorrow with that severe threat further to the east on the east side of the dry line. Highs tomorrow, still warm, Texas and across the south into the mid-Atlantic, cooling off north of that, of course, and northern plains is where it's coldest, and the northern Rockies, of course. And now the surface on Thursday, we have a large area of severe weather possible, and then also heavy rain possible with some flooding into the south. And we've been highlighting this for several days now, and we're getting closer to that main event. So this is how it's going to look on Friday. Huge area of thunderstorms possible across the plains and the Midwest, changing to regular rain, Ohio Valley, and further to the east as you approach the central, the mid-Atlantic coast. That's a better way to put that. Mixture of rain and snow, Michigan, Wisconsin, northern Iowa, into Nebraska, and western Kansas, and even places like Dalhart, Texas could see a mix of rain and snow, and through much of New Mexico and into northern Arizona, the snow persisting in Colorado, and our next storm system for the Pacific Northwest, bringing a chance of rain on the coast and changing to snow as you get in the higher elevations. Here's a closer look at our severe weather for Thursday into early Friday. Again, a dry line is going to be setting up near Lubbock, but that's by the afternoon it'll be pushing east of Lubbock and start running into that moist air on the other side of the dry line. The two will clash. You'll have lift, a chance for severe storms from, say, Childress to west of Abilene near San Angelo and further south all the way into Dallas-Fort Worth area. But again, tornado threat very low here. Could see some large hail and some damaging winds. And then that area moves east and expands for Friday into Saturday. So East Texas now, with the chance of the severe weather, also into Arkansas, Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, panhandle of Florida. And again, tornado threat is not high, but there is a chance for damaging winds, large hail. And it looks like maybe Austin in on this, Waco certainly, south of Dallas. Now here's how all this plays out on the GFS. As we take a look at our computer model here, starting at noon today, and we see our system in California sinking southward, lowering snow levels in Southern California. So that's why we have those winter weather advisories for the mountains of Southern California. Meanwhile, our low in South Carolina, bringing some showers, even some storms into North Carolina and further north into Maryland and Delaware and even parts of New Jersey. So let's move it forward in time. We see our low exiting on the east, but those heavy rain showers moving into New England. So New York City, Long Island first, then Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island into New York State, New Hampshire into Maine. On the northern side, though, it's snow in northern Maine. And as we get into this evening, that storm exits. And then as we enter tomorrow morning, we're seeing some showers already developing in Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, up into Kansas. A little bit of light snow lingering here and there. Some light rain for southern Arizona. And as we get into the day, we see our low forming. We see some storms popping. And as we get further into Thursday and Friday, then we see those showers and storms erupting and heavy rain moving into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. This is Friday morning. This is Friday at noon. On the backside, a little bit of light snow possible that we were talking about, but very heavy rain in the south with some isolated severe storms, very heavy rain as we get into Friday night. Missouri, you're in on this too, parts of Oklahoma. But man, Alabama just getting soaked. That's moving into Georgia and also into parts of eastern Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, just a big area of heavy rainfall. So this is why we're talking about, flooding possibilities here in the southeast as we get, this is early Saturday morning even. And then we see another area of showers and storms further to the north, and those will continue. But look at that heavy rain in the south continuing during the day on Saturday. Meanwhile, our news system for the Pacific Northwest, not heavy rain along the coast, but some rain. And not heavy snow in the Cascades, but some snow. And not heavy snow for Idaho, but some snow. And heavier rains, though, up here near the Great Lakes with this low that's forming. And we're still watching heavy rain in the southeast. So as this low gets going, it's adding some lift and some heavy rainfall for Pennsylvania, places like Philadelphia, moving into New Jersey and New York City and Connecticut. So a couple bouts of heavy rain for New England over the next several days. And just the very northern part of that, there'll be some snow, mainly northern Maine, because even the snow in New Hampshire changes to heavy rain, so it'll melt. And yeah, that's what's happening in the Northeast, kind of a sloppy mess. And then we see a little bit of snow on the backside for eastern New York State, and also very light snow, Cleveland into Erie, Pennsylvania, parts of southwestern New York State. Meanwhile, it looks like a line of heavy rain along the Oregon coast, a little bit Washington coast too, and snow inland, of course, the Cascades of Washington. This is as we get it through the day Sunday. We see our low strengthening here off the coast of New England, but the damage is done with all the rain. And as the low strengthens, we'll get more wind. We'll get some lake effect snow off some of the lakes and some heavy snow up here in northern Vermont. But as far as New England goes, it's just going to be mostly wind and cold because that cold air is going to come in behind that low. Meanwhile, this line of storms for the coast of Oregon now moving into California. So heavy rain along the coast, northern California, changing to snow up in the higher elevations there. And as that low, well, it starts to weaken as it heads further south, but some pretty good snows, Cascades, south into the Sierra Nevada. But it looks like there will be at least a threat of some rain for Southern California. Wind up here in New England. Some of the warm air starting to creep back in, but still on the cold side. This is Monday at noon Central Time. Very warm temperatures back across the center of the country. And then kind of cold for the Pacific Northwest with some snow, Idaho, northwestern Montana, as we get through next weekend. Early next week, kind of quiet. Still windy in New England, but not as windy. Still cold here. And then our next storm for the Pacific Northwest, bringing some heavy rain for the coast. Let's move that forward in time and see where that goes. Well, it just moves onshore and starts dumping some snow as you get interior, but it's weakening. But some pretty good snows, at least for a day or so, for the Sierra Nevada, but mostly for the Cascades of Oregon and Washington and the Olympic Mountains here. All right, what are our trends look like? Obviously, what we just showed you shows a lot of heavy rain for the southeast through this weekend. Maybe some isolated severe storms, Texas through the northeast, maybe Oklahoma. But temperatures still kind of on the warm side. And for precipitation-wise, not only is it going to be wet this week, but the trends, if this comes true, is for the southeast to stay wet. This is the 13th through the 19th, so pretty good probability of above average precipitation for the southeastern part of the country, and really the eastern 2/3 of the country, except the northern plains and the western Great Lakes. Meanwhile, it looks dry for the western U.S., and the temperatures, well, as it dries out west, it looks like it'll warm up west. The southeast loses, that above average temperature, again, mostly because of all the rain. But as you head north into the Midwest and the Great Lakes and New England and even the Mid-Atlantic, we're looking at above average temperatures as we get into the second and third week of March. That's how it looks right now. So if you live in Texas, Oklahoma, east of Lubbock anyway, and in the southeast, watch out for a chance of severe weather next couple of days and definitely some heavy rainfall that's coming to the southeast. That is my report for today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. The Weather Mike.